All right, fam, we're back and we're working on day 9. So I'm going to do just a couple odds. This is our practice worksheet, and then I'll be walking around helping you. I just wanted to get you started on these. So just remember, when we see 3 terms, 1, 2, 3, every single time we're going to do this trick, okay? And what you have to remember is when there is a number here in front that's not 1, that number gets multiplied by this to get 24. Okay, so these two numbers get multiplied together. This is positive 3, this is positive 8, that makes positive 24. That is the number that goes here. This is multiply. Okay, and then remember where to put this 25. It's positive, but this positive 25 goes down here, and this is our add. So we have to think of, hardest part of this whole problem, you guys, what two numbers multiply to 24, but add up to 25? So here's what we might be thinking. Well, I do know that 24 is 12 and 2. So is there any way to add these two together and get 25? Check with your calculator if you have to. 12 and 2 will not make 25. So I can't use 12 and 2. Give me another pair. You might be thinking 8 and 3. 8 times 3 is 24. That's good. 8 and 3. Is there any way to add these two numbers together and get 25? 8 plus 3 is 11. 8 minus 3 is 5. Neither of those make 25. So we got to keep thinking. Dang it. One combination that a lot of people forget when you're taking any number is you can not forget 1 and 24. Can't you take 1 times 24 and get 24? And also 1 plus 24 is 25. There it is. Those are my two numbers. Awesome. Remember what happens next. You split the 25. That becomes 1x and 24x. I'm using these two numbers with x's instead of the 25. I have to remember to write this number first, 3x squared. It's a positive 1, so I'm going to keep that plus there. And I can't forget this 8 either, so plus 8 at the end. And remember now, that has 4 things in it, so I'm going to do the grouping trick. Okay, so between 3 and 1, there's not a whole number I can divide by. X squared and x, the smaller of those two is an x. So I'm going to take out an x from this group. The 3 is still here. There were 2 x's. I took one of them out. That means 1 is left. Keep the plus sign here. It is 1x. I took out the x. That means I just have the 1. Now let's look at these numbers. 24 and 8. What is the biggest number you can divide 24 and 8 by? 2 works, 4 works. There's a bigger number. You can divide this number by 8 and this number by 8. We always want to take the biggest number, and they're both positive, so I'm keeping a plus there. 24 divided by 8 is 3. There's still an x here, so keep that there. I'm going to keep the plus sign, so write plus. And remember, 8 divided by 8 is 1. And great news, you guys, these two things match. That is the first part of my answer. Do you remember the second part? X plus 8. The things that are hanging out on the outside. Let's do number 3. Here's my x. Remember, I've got a 7 and a negative 2 here, so I'm multiplying 7 times negative 2, which makes negative 14. This is the multiply up here. And this number, negative 5, keep the negative with it. My two numbers have to add up to negative 5. This number goes here. Okay, so I got to think of two numbers. What times what is 14? First thing I think of is 7 and 2. Could I put the 2 here and the 7 here? Yes, your work will look a little bit different than mine, but you should get the same answer at the end if you do everything correctly. Okay, so 7 times 2 is positive 14, though. So one of those numbers has to be negative to make negative 14. And I have to add up to negative 5. So what if I did negative 7? Let's check. Negative 7 times 2, grab your calculator, is negative 14. Negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5. These are my two numbers. So remember, what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this negative 5 into negative 7x and positive 2x. And don't forget to keep the 7x squared in front. And don't forget to keep the negative 2 at the end. Now, I see 4 things. I'm going to do some grouping. Okay, so very first group, it looks like they both have a 7. I'm going to get rid of that. That is easy. And I've got an x squared here and an x here. The smaller of those two is the x. Let's figure out what I have left. The 7 is gone. One of the x's is gone, which means there's one x left. Keep the minus sign. 7 gone, x gone. I have to put something there. Remember to put the 1. Now let's look at the combo of these two. I see a 2. They both have a 2 in it. They don't both have an x, so I can't do anything with the x, but this has a 2 and this has a 2, and I'm going to factor it out. This was 2x. The 2 came out. That means there's an x left. Keep the minus sign, and remember 2 divided by 2 is 1. And great news, these two match. That's the first part of my answer. Remember, the second part is the 7x plus 2. Love it. Let's do another one. I see 3 things. 1, 2, 3. That means I'm going to do this. And remember, there's a 2 here. There's a negative 9 there. Don't lose the negative. When you multiply those, you get negative 18. And this number, negative 3, is what goes in the bottom. Don't lose the negative. I got to think of two numbers that multiply to 18 that add up to negative 3. Let me try 9 and 2. Is there any way 9 times 2 is 18, but 9 and 2 added together does not in any way make negative 3. So that wasn't right. What times what is 18? 1 and 18. That multiplies to 18, but can I add them together to get 3? No. Dang it. 6 and 3. Oh, okay. Okay, if they multiply to negative 18, that means one of these two numbers has to be negative. So if I put the negative here, let me check in my calculator. Negative 6 times 3 is negative 18. Negative 6 plus 3 is negative 3. Nailed it. So remember, I'm going to split this middle term. I'm not using negative 3x anymore. I'm using these two numbers. I'm going to do negative 6x and positive 3x. So these two numbers are the two numbers that go here with x's. We're getting rid of this. Don't forget to write the 2x squared first and the negative 9 last. Now I'm going to do some grouping. Group these two, group these two. We do this every time there's 4 things. 1, 2, 3, 4. What can I get rid of? There's a 2 and a 6. The biggest number I can divide both of those by is 2. Here's an x squared and here's an x. The smaller of those is x. The 2 came out. One of the x's came out. That means there's 1 left. Keep the minus. 6 divided by 2 is 3. And this x came out. Close. Let's look at 3 and 9. I believe I can divide both of those numbers by 3. There's only an x in this term, not in this one, so I can't take any x's out, but there's a 3 here. This x stays. I'm going to keep this minus sign here, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So now you'll notice that these terms match. That's the first part of my answer, and this is the second part.
Excuse me?
Can you say hi to all my students?
Hi.
Okay. Guys, I'm going to be walking around and I'm going to be working with you and helping you, but here is your crash course and your reminder of what we learned yesterday. Please let me know if you have questions. Love you all. See you soon.